The war had been going on for 30 years. The Void Swarm moved from world to world, consuming everything in its path. Planets that had existed for millions of years became empty rocks in a matter of weeks. The Galactic Coalition had tried everything. Their best weapons, their strongest soldiers, their most advanced technology. Nothing worked well enough. They were losing. Then the humans arrived. They were new to the galaxy, young and small compared to the other species. Most members of the coalition thought humans would be useless in the war. They were wrong. Humans brought Minho. Minho had been fighting for 15 years now. He wore the Titan armor, a massive suit that connected directly to his nervous system. The armor was 12 feet tall and black as deep space. It carried weapons that could destroy entire swarm formations. But the real power came from the neural link. The armor read Minho's thoughts and moved before he even finished thinking. Man and machine worked as one. In 15 years, Minho had won 47 major battles. He had saved billions of lives across dozens of worlds. Species that had never heard of humans knew his name. Children on alien planets drew pictures of the Titan armor standing against the darkness. Songs were written about his victories. He was a legend, but legends had a cost. The Titan armor was killing him slowly. The neural link grew deeper with each battle. At first it had been simple. Minho put on the armor, fought, and took it off. Now things were different. The armor had begun to fuse with his body. Thin black lines ran under his skin where the neural connections had grown. Doctors said he had maybe 2 years before the fusion became permanent. After that, he could never take the armor off. He would live in it until he died in it. Minho stood on the observation deck of the Coalition flagship. Below him stretched the planet Voral. He had just spent 72 hours holding a breach point. The swarm had tried to break through and destroy the colony. 3 million Virelians lived on that world. Minho had stood alone at the narrow pass and killed every swarm creature that came near. For 3 days and nights, without sleep, without rest, he had fought. The Virelians were safe now. They were celebrating in their cities below. But Minho felt nothing. He was too tired to feel. "You did well," a voice said behind him. Minho turned. Admiral Hana stood in the doorway. She was tall for a human woman with short dark hair and sharp eyes. She had been his liaison with the Coalition for 10 years. She managed his deployments, his supplies, his entire existence. She was good at her job. Some days Minho thought she was too good at it. "The Voralians want to give you a medal," Hana continued. Another ceremony. Another speech about humanity's greatest warrior. "I don't need more medals," Minho said. His voice was rough from not using it. He had not spoken to anyone during the 72-hour battle. There had been no one to speak to. "I know, but they need to give them. It helps morale." Hana walked to stand beside him. She looked down at the planet. "You saved 3 million lives this week. Do you know how significant that is?" "Yes." "Good, because we need you to do it again." Minho closed his eyes. Of course they did. They always needed him again. There was always another planet, another battle, another desperate last stand. He had forgotten what anything else felt like. "There's a supply station at Kelmar," Hana said. "The swarm is moving toward it. Intelligence says they'll arrive in 2 weeks. We need the Titan armor there." "Not me." "The armor," Hana paused. "That's not what I meant." "Yes, it was." Minho opened his eyes and looked at her. "You don't ask how I'm doing. You don't ask if I need rest. You ask if the armor is ready for the next mission. That's not fair." "Fair?" Minho felt something that might have been anger, but he was too tired to be sure. "I haven't been to Earth in 8 years. I don't remember what real food tastes like. I sleep in the armor now because taking it off hurts too much. The doctors say I'm more machine than man. And you tell me what's not fair?" Hana's face tightened. "You knew what you were signing up for. We all make sacrifices in war. I've made enough. There's no such thing as enough. Not until the war is over." Minho turned away from her. Below, the Virelians were still celebrating. They were alive because he had bled for them. They would sleep safely in their beds tonight because he had not slept for 3 nights. He did not regret saving them. He would do it again. But he was so tired of being the only one who could. "How long?" he asked quietly. "What?" "How long until the armor kills me?" "Not the war. The armor itself." Hana did not answer immediately. When she did, her voice was careful. "The doctors say—" "I know what the doctors say." "I asked what you think." Another pause. "A year. Maybe less if we keep pushing this hard. And you're okay with that?" "I'm not okay with 3 million Virelians dying because we didn't have the Titan armor where we needed it." Minho nodded slowly. That was the answer he expected. That was always the answer. The mission mattered more than the man. The armor mattered more than the person inside it. "I'll go to Kelmar," he said. "Thank you." "Don't thank me. Just send the coordinates." Hana left without another word. Minho stayed on the observation deck, watching the planet below. Somewhere down there, 3 million people were alive because of him. It should have felt good. It should have meant something. But all Minho felt was the weight of the armor in his bones and the knowledge that tomorrow he would put it on again. And the day after that, and the day after that, until there were no more days left. He had been fighting for 15 years. He wondered if he remembered how to do anything else. He wondered if there was anything left of the person he used to be before the war, before the armor, before he became a weapon that the galaxy could not afford to lose. The black lines under his skin pulsed faintly with his heartbeat. Man and machine fused together. Soon there would be no difference at all. Minho turned from the window and walked toward the armor bay. He had a mission on Kelmar in 2 weeks. He needed to be ready. He was always ready. That was what weapons did. Minho did not go to Kelmar. Instead, Admiral Hana called him to Coalition Central Command 3 days after their conversation on the observation deck. The message was urgent. Priority level maximum. No explanation given. He arrived at Central Command still wearing the Titan armor. He wore it most of the time now. Taking it off required 2 hours and a medical team. Putting it back on took just as long. It was easier to stay connected. The command center was massive. Screens covered every wall, showing battlefronts across 100 worlds. Admirals and generals from a dozen species stood around holographic displays, planning strategies and moving fleets. The room went quiet when Minho entered. Everyone stopped and looked at him. The living legend. The human weapon Minho hated when they did that. "Minho," Admiral Hana called from the central platform. "Come here. We have a situation." He walked through the command center. The armor's footsteps were heavy and loud. Other officers stepped back to let him pass. No one met his eyes. They looked at the armor instead. Always the armor. Hana stood next to a large display showing a star system. A beautiful blue and green planet rotated slowly in the center. Around it, thousands of red dots swarmed like angry insects. "This is Kelthera," Hana said. "Homeworld of the Keltharian people. Population 3 billion. The Void Swarm arrived in their system 6 hours ago." Minho studied the display. The red dots represented swarm ships. There were too many to count. They surrounded the planet completely, no way in, no way out. "The Keltharian defense fleet is holding for now," another admiral said. He was tall and blue, from a species Minho did not remember the name of. "But projections say they have 72 hours at most. After that, the swarm breaks through." "We don't have enough ships to break that blockade," Hana continued. "We can't get reinforcements there in time. Every available fleet is engaged elsewhere." She turned to look at Minho directly. "But we have one option. The Titan Protocol." Minho felt something cold in his chest. "No, you haven't heard the full plan. I don't need to. The Titan Protocol is a suicide mission." Hana's face was calm, professional. "It's a final option. The armor has the capability to generate a quantum pulse. It's powerful enough to destroy every swarm ship in the system at once, and it kills the pilot." "Yes." The command center was completely silent now. Every officer in the room was listening. Minho looked at the blue planet on the display. 3 billion people, children, families, entire civilizations, all about to die unless someone stopped it. "You're asking me to kill myself to save them," Minho said. "I'm asking you to do what you've always done. Save lives. This time it just requires the ultimate sacrifice." "No." Hana blinked. "What?" I said no. The word hung in the air like a bomb. Officers looked at each other nervously. The Blue Admiral's face showed shock. Hana stared at Minho as if he had spoken in an alien language. "You can't refuse," she said carefully. "I just did. Minho, 3 billion people will die if I don't sacrifice myself. I understand the situation." "My answer is still no." Hana stepped closer. Her voice dropped low so only he could hear. "What's happened to you? You've never refused a mission before?" "I've never been asked to die before." "You've risked death in every battle. Risking death and accepting certain death are different things." Minho turned away from the display. He could not look at that beautiful planet anymore. "I've given 15 years to this war. I've fought in battles that should have killed me 100 times. I've let this armor fuse with my body. I've forgotten what it feels like to be human. I've done enough. Enough? Hana's voice rose. How can you say that when 3 billion lives ought I want to go home? The words came out quiet but firm. Minho had not said them out loud before. He had thought about Earth every day for years, but he had never actually said he wanted to go back. I want to see my family, he continued. I want to eat real food. I want to sleep without the armor. I want to remember what peace feels like. I want to be a person again, not a weapon. A new voice spoke from behind them. He has that right. Minho turned. A woman approached from the entrance. She was human, middle-aged, with kind eyes and simple clothes. Nari was her name. She was one of the human diplomatic representatives to the coalition. Ambassador Nari, Hana said stiffly. This is a military matter. This is a matter of human rights, Nari replied calmly. She walked up to stand beside Minho. Minho is not a slave. He's not your property. He's a volunteer soldier who has served with distinction for 15 years. If he wants to go home, he has every right to do so. Not when 3 billion lives are at stake, and even then, the coalition cannot force its soldiers to commit suicide, not even to save worlds. Hana looked between them, her face showing real emotion for the first time. Confusion, anger, something that might have been betrayal. Minho, you've saved billions of lives. You're humanity's greatest hero. You can't just walk away. Watch me. If you leave now, those 3 billion people will die. Their blood will be on your hands. You'll have to live with that. Minho felt the words hit him. Each one was designed to hurt, to make him feel guilty, to make him reconsider. Hana knew exactly where to strike. I'll live, he said quietly. That's the point. This is cowardice. No, it's self-preservation. There's a difference. Hana shook her head slowly. I thought I knew you. I thought you were better than this. You thought I was a weapon that would never refuse to fire. You were wrong. I thought you were a hero. Heroes don't have to die to prove it. The command center remained silent. Minho could feel every eye on him. Judging, condemning, he did not care. For the first time in years, he was choosing himself over the mission. It felt terrifying and liberating at the same time. If you walk away from this, Hana said, her voice hard now, humanity's reputation in the coalition will suffer. People will see humans as unreliable, selfish. We're still the newest species. We're still proving ourselves. You'll damage everything we've built. Then humanity will have to prove itself another way, not through my death. Ambassador Nari touched Minho's arm gently. There's a transport leaving for Earth in 3 hours. I can get you on it. Minho nodded. He looked at Admiral Hana one last time. I'm sorry, but I'm done. He turned and walked toward the exit. The armor's footsteps echoed through the quiet command center. No one tried to stop him. They just watched as the legendary human warrior left. Behind him, Hana stood alone at the display. The blue planet still rotated peacefully, surrounded by red dots. Somewhere on that world, 3 billion people went about their lives not knowing they had less than 3 days to live. Minho did not look back. Minho made it halfway to the transport dock before Admiral Hana found him. He was walking through the armor bay, the massive room where coalition soldiers maintained their equipment. Dozens of smaller combat suits stood in neat rows. None of them came close to the Titan armor's power. We need to talk, Hana said from behind him. Minho stopped but did not turn around. There's nothing to talk about. I've made my decision, then I'll make you reconsider. Now he turned. Hana stood in the doorway, blocking his path to the exit. Her face was set hard, determined. He had seen that expression before, usually right before a difficult battle. You can't make me do anything, Minho said. Can't I? Hana walked toward him slowly. Let's talk about what you've done, Minho. 15 years of service. 47 major victories. Billions of lives saved. You're a legend across the galaxy. Species that have existed for millions of years speak your name with reverence. I know what I've done. Do you? Do you really understand the weight of it? Hana stopped a few feet away. Every life you saved matters. Every world you protected has value. And now you're saying all of that means nothing because you're too scared to finish the job. I'm not scared. I'm tired. Tired? Hana's voice rose sharply. Those 3 billion Keltharians don't get to be tired. They don't get to choose whether they live or die. But you do. You have the power to save them? And you're refusing because you want to go home and eat real food? Minho felt anger starting to burn through his exhaustion. You don't understand. Oh, I understand perfectly. You're being selfish. You're putting your own comfort, your own life above 3 billion innocent people. That's not heroism. That's cowardice. The word hit harder than any swarm weapon. Minho's hands clenched into fists. I have given everything to this war, except your life, which is exactly what's needed now. So I should just die. That's your solution? Yes. Hana stepped closer, her eyes blazing. Yes, you should die if it means saving 3 billion others. That's what heroes do. That's what you signed up for when you put on that armor. I signed up to fight, not to commit suicide. What do you think fighting is? Every battle could be your last. You've always known that. The only difference now is you know for certain. And that scares you. You're afraid to die. Everyone is afraid to die. But not everyone runs away when it matters most. Hana's voice was cruel now, cutting. You want to know what I see when I look at you right now? I see a coward wearing a hero's armor. I see someone who was happy to accept all the glory and praise when it was easy. But now that it requires real sacrifice, you're abandoning ship. That's not fair. Fair? You want to talk about fair? Is it fair that 3 billion Keltharians will die screaming as the swarm devours them? Is it fair that their children will never grow up? Is it fair that an entire civilization will be erased from existence? All because you decided your life was more important than theirs. Minho said nothing. The words were like acid burning through his defenses. Part of him knew Hana was manipulating him, using guilt as a weapon. But another part wondered if she was right. You know what the worst part is? Hana continued. All those lives you saved mean nothing now. Every battle you fought, every sacrifice you made, it's all worthless if you walk away from this. Those billions of people you protected, they'll die anyway when the swarm wins. Because we can't win this war without you. You're the only weapon we have that actually works. I'm not a weapon. I'm a person, Hana laughed. It was a harsh, bitter sound. Are you? Look at yourself, Minho. Look at what you've become. The armor is fused to your body. You can't take it off without a medical team. You don't sleep like normal people. You don't eat like normal people. You don't even think like normal people anymore. The neural link has changed you. She pointed at the black lines visible on his neck. You're more machine than man now. You stopped being a regular person years ago. You became something else, something greater. You became the weapon the galaxy needed. No. Yes. And weapons don't get to retire. Weapons don't get to go home. Weapons serve until they break. That's their purpose. That's your purpose. You're not a person anymore, Minho. Hana's voice was cold now. Final. You're a weapon. The greatest weapon humanity has ever created. And weapons don't choose. They don't refuse. They don't run away. They do what they're made to do. Something inside Minho cracked. Not broke, just cracked. A small fracture in the wall he had been building around himself for 15 years. You never saw me as human, he said quietly. Hana's face showed a flicker of something, regret maybe, or guilt, but her voice stayed firm. I saw you as what you needed to be, what the galaxy needed you to be. And what about what I needed? Your needs don't matter when balanced against 3 billion lives. I'm sorry, but that's the truth. One life, even yours, doesn't compare to an entire world. Minho stood very still. The armor felt heavier than ever. Not physically. The neural link handled the weight. But emotionally, it was crushing him. Every pound of metal, every weapon system, every piece of technology designed to kill, it was also heavy. I saved the Virelians, he said. You did. I held that breach point for 72 hours without rest. Yes. I've fought battles that should have killed me. I've bled for species I'd never heard of before. I've given up my health, my future, my humanity. I've given everything except my life. And now we need that too. Minho looked at her for a long moment. Then he looked at the Titan armor. The massive black suit stood in its maintenance cradle, connected to him by cables and neural links. His prison. His purpose. His identity for 15 years. No, he said. Hana's face hardened. Minho, I said no. He reached up and began disconnecting the neural links. His hands moved slowly, carefully. Each connection clicked free with a soft sound. The armor's systems began to shut down one by one. Power cells cycling to standby. Weapon systems going dark. The heads-up display in his vision fading away. What are you doing? Hana asked. Minho did not answer. He continued disconnecting links. There were dozens of them. Some had been connected for months. Removing them hurt. Not physically. The medical team would handle the pain later. but emotionally, each disconnection felt like cutting away a piece of himself. "Stop," Hana said. "Don't do this." The last neural link came free. For the first time in 3 months, Minho was completely disconnected from the Titan armor. The sudden absence of its presence in his mind was shocking. Like losing a sense or cutting off a limb. The armor's emergency release activated. Panels opened. Seals hissed. Hydraulics whined. The chest plate split down the middle and swung open. Minho stepped out. Without the armor, he looked small, thin, almost fragile. The black lines of neural integration covered his arms and chest like tattoos. His skin was pale from years without sunlight. His muscles had atrophied from relying on the armor's strength. He looked like a man who had been sick for a very long time. He looked human. "Minho," Hana said. Her voice was different now, uncertain. "Please." He reached out and touched the armor's chest plate. His hand looked tiny against the black metal. This thing had been his home for 15 years. His identity. His purpose. And now he was leaving it behind. Gently, carefully, like laying down something precious, Minho pushed the chest plate closed. The seals locked. The armor stood empty in its cradle, waiting for a pilot that was no longer there. "I'm sorry," Minho said. Not to Hana, to the armor, to everything it represented. Then he turned and walked away. His steps were small and quiet without the armor's weight. He walked past Admiral Hana without looking at her, past the rows of smaller combat suits, past the maintenance crews who had stopped working to watch, through the armor bay doors and into the corridor beyond. Behind him, Hana stood alone next to the empty Titan armor. She had said terrible things. Cruel things. Things meant to force him back into service. And all she had done was push him away forever. She realized too late that she had just lost the greatest weapon the galaxy had ever known. Not to the swarm, not to death, to her own harsh words. And somewhere far away, a blue planet orbited peacefully. 3 billion people went about their lives. They had less than 3 days left. The human quarters at Coalition Central Command were small and simple. Most human diplomats and staff lived here when working with the alien species. It was quiet. A small piece of Earth floating in space. Ambassador Nari found Minho sitting in the common room 3 hours after he walked away from the armor. He was wearing simple clothes now. A gray shirt and black pants. No armor, no weapons. He looked lost without them. "The transport to Earth leaves in 30 minutes, Nari said gently. "I have your boarding pass." Minho did not move. He stared at his hands. The black lines of neural integration ran up his arms like veins, permanent reminders of what he had been. "I should feel relieved," he said quietly. "I'm going home." "That's what I wanted, but all I can think about are those 3 billion people." Nari sat down beside him. "That's because you're a good person. Good people feel guilt even when they make the right choice." "Is it the right choice?" Hana said. "Hana said a lot of cruel things. Don't listen to them." Nari's voice was firm. "You have given 15 years of your life. You've earned the right to go home. But what if she was right? What if I'm being selfish? Refusing to die on command isn't selfish. It's human." Minho finally looked at her. 3 billion lives, Nari, that's not a small number. "I know. If I get on that transport, they all die. I'll spend the rest of my life knowing I could have saved them." "Yes, you will. That's the burden of walking away." Nari placed a hand on his arm. "But you'll be alive to carry it. And life, even with guilt, is better than death." Minho stood up and walked to the window. Outside, he could see the Coalition fleet. Hundreds of ships from dozens of species, all fighting the same war, all losing slowly. "There has to be another way," he said. "What do you mean?" Hana was right about one thing. "I'm the only one who can save those people." "She was wrong that I have to die to do it." Nari stood up. The Titan Protocol was designed by the Coalition, by species that think sacrifice is glorious, by cultures that believe one death to save millions is acceptable mathematics. Minho turned to face her. "But humans don't think like that." "We don't?" "No, humans try to save everyone. We refuse to accept necessary deaths. We look at impossible problems and say there has to be a better way." He walked back toward her, his eyes bright with something that had been missing before. Hope. "We innovate. That's what makes us different." Nari's eyes widened. "You want to find a way to use the Titan Protocol without dying?" "I want to find a way to save those people and come back alive. The coalition gave up on that possibility because they thought sacrifice was the only option. But maybe they're wrong. Do you have an idea? No, but I know people who might. Minho walked toward the door. How many human engineers and scientists do we have on Central Command? Maybe 20. They work on various projects. I need them all. Everyone who knows anything about the Titan armor systems. Everyone who understands quantum mechanics or energy distribution or neural interfaces. I need our best minds, Nari smiled. I'll make the calls. Within an hour, 17 humans gathered in the common room. Engineers, physicists, weapons specialists, computer programmers. The best minds humanity had sent to the coalition. Most of them had never met Minho before. They only knew the legend. Seeing him in simple clothes, looking thin and tired and very human, was a shock to all of them. Thank you for coming, Minho said. He stood at the front of the room. Behind him, a display showed the Titan armor's technical specifications. You all know the situation. The planet Kelthera has 3 days before the swarm destroys it. 3 billion lives. The coalition wants me to use the Titan protocol, the quantum pulse that destroys everything in the system, including you, one engineer said. His name was Doyen, young, maybe 25. Smart eyes, including me, Minho agreed. The pulse generates too much energy. The armor can't contain it. The feedback kills the pilot instantly. That's how it was designed. So you want us to redesign it in 3 days? Another voice. A woman named Yunji. She specialized in energy systems. That's impossible, is it? Minho looked at each person in the room. The coalition says it's impossible, but the coalition thinks differently than we do. They see the Titan protocol as a final sacrifice, a heroic death. They never questioned whether it had to kill the pilot. They just accepted it. But the energy levels, Doyen started, are too high for one source point.
I know, I've read the specifications 100 times.
The armor can't handle the feedback from generating that much quantum energy at once. Minho pointed at the display. But what if we don't generate it at once? The room went quiet. Engineers and scientists looked at each other. Distribution, Yunji said slowly. You want to distribute the quantum pulse across multiple sources. Exactly. The Titan armor generates the pulse, but instead of containing all that energy in one place, we split it, spread it across dozens or hundreds of smaller drones. Each one carries a fraction of the total energy. When they all pulse together, the combined effect destroys the swarm. But no single source, including the armor, takes lethal feedback. Doyen was already working on his tablet, running numbers. The math could work, if we had enough drones, and if we could synchronize them perfectly. The Titan armor's neural link can handle synchronization, Minho said. That's what it's designed for, controlling multiple systems simultaneously. I've used it to operate dozens of weapon systems at once. This is just more of the same. But building the drones, another engineer started. We have 3 days, Minho interrupted, and we have access to the coalition's manufacturing facilities. We don't need to build drones from scratch. We modify existing equipment, combat drones, repair drones, anything with a power core and the ability to hold a charge. The scientists were getting excited now. Tablets came out. People started talking over each other. Equations appeared on displays. Schematics updated in real time. It could work, Yunji said. The energy distribution model is solid. We'd need at least 200 drones to keep the individual feedback below lethal levels. 200 drones synchronized to fire simultaneously, Doyen added. The timing has to be perfect. Even a microsecond off and the whole thing fails. The neural link can handle it, Minho said again. I can handle it. An older scientist named Kiwan spoke up. He had been quiet until now. Even if we solve the technical problems, there's a political one. The coalition won't let us modify the Titan armor. Not without approval from the High Command, and Admiral Hana will never approve this. Minho smiled grimly. Then we don't ask for approval. We have 3 days. We work in the human quarters. We use human resources. We don't tell the coalition what we're doing until it's done. That's insubordination, Kiwan said. That's initiative, Minho corrected. Humans don't wait for permission to save lives. We act. Ambassador Nari, who had been watching from the side, stepped forward. I'll handle the political issues. If the coalition has problems with what we're doing, they can take it up with the Human Ambassador Corps. After you save 3 billion Keltharians. The room fell silent. Everyone understood what they were attempting. 3 days to redesign a suicide weapon into a survival tool. 3 days to prove that human innovation could beat alien acceptance of necessary death. Who's in? Minho asked. Every hand in the room went up. Then let's get to work. The next 3 days were a blur. The human quarters became a makeshift laboratory. Engineers tore apart combat drones and rebuilt them with modified power cores. Physicists calculated energy distribution patterns down to the quantum level. Programmers wrote synchronization code that had to be perfect on the first try. There would be no second chances. Minho worked alongside them. For the first time in years, he wasn't the weapon. He was part of a team, contributing ideas, solving problems, being human. The coalition noticed their activity, of course. Alien officers came by to ask questions. Nari deflected them all. Humans dealing with human issues, she said politely but firmly. No one pushed harder. Humans were still new to the coalition. Their methods were strange but effective. Best to let them work. On the second day, they had a working prototype. One drone modified to accept and distribute a fraction of quantum energy. They tested it in an isolated lab. It worked. The drone survived. The energy dispersed harmlessly into space. On the third day, they had 200 drones ready. A swarm of modified machines, each one programmed to respond to the Titan armor's neural link. Each one carrying a piece of the quantum pulse that would save Kelthera. 6 hours before the swarm would break through Keltharian defenses, Minho stood in the human quarters surrounded by exhausted but triumphant scientists and engineers. They had done the impossible. They had found a way. We need to present this to the coalition, Nari said. They need to deploy us to Kelthera. Admiral Hana won't be happy, Yunji said. She doesn't have to be happy, Minho replied. She just has to let us try. He looked at the display showing the modified armor and its drone fleet. This was it, the human solution. Not sacrifice. Not necessary death. Innovation and determination and the refusal to accept that anyone had to die. Let's go save 3 billion people, Minho said, and come back alive to tell about it. The coalition high command was not happy to see Minho return. He walked into the command center with Ambassador Nari at his side and 17 human scientists behind him. Admiral Hana stood at the central display, coordinating the evacuation efforts for Kelthera. She looked exhausted. 3 days of watching a planet die slowly had taken its toll. She saw Minho and her face went hard. What are you doing here? I thought you were on a transport to Earth. I changed my mind, Minho said. Too late. The swarm breaks through Keltharian defenses in 6 hours. Even if you agreed to use the Titan protocol now, we couldn't get you there in time. I'm not using the Titan protocol. Not the way you designed it anyway. Minho activated his tablet. A holographic display appeared above it, showing the modified armor and its drone fleet. We found a better way. Hana stared at the display. Other coalition officers gathered around to look. The Blue Admiral from before leaned in close, his alien features showing confusion. What is this? Hana asked. Quantum pulse distribution system, Doyon explained. He stepped forward, bringing up detailed specifications. The Titan armor still generates the quantum pulse, but instead of containing all the energy in one location, we've created a network of 200 synchronized drones. Each drone carries a fraction of the total energy load. When they pulse simultaneously, the combined effect destroys the swarm fleet. But no single point, including the armor, takes lethal feedback. The room was silent as coalition officers processed this information. The Blue Admiral spoke first. You modified the Titan protocol? We redesigned it, Yunji corrected. The original design accepted pilot death as necessary. We rejected that premise in 3 days, another officer asked, shocked. You redesigned our most advanced weapon system in 3 days? Humans work fast when lives are at stake, Nari said simply. Admiral Hana was reading through the specifications on her own tablet. Her face showed a mix of emotions. Surprise, disbelief, something that might have been admiration, and underneath it all, shame. Does this work? She asked quietly. We tested the prototype, Minho said. It works. The energy distribution model is sound. The synchronization code is ready. We just need to deploy. You built all this to avoid dying? I built this to save 3 billion people and come home alive. Those things don't have to be mutually exclusive. Hana looked at him for a long moment. The man she had called a coward 3 days ago had just done what the entire coalition thought impossible. He had found a way to win without sacrifice. The human way. Can you really synchronize 200 drones through the neural link? She asked. I've run simulations, Minho replied. It's difficult but possible. The Titan armor's neural interface can handle it. I can handle it. If even one drone is off by a microsecond, the whole thing fails, I know. It has to be perfect. Minho's voice was steady, confident. I can do it. The Blue Admiral spoke again. Even if this works, we need to transport the armor and 200 drones to Kelthera. That's a massive deployment in 6 hours. We have a heavy transport standing by, Nari said. Human vessel. Fast engines. We can make it in 5 hours if we leave now. Hana looked around at her fellow officers. They looked back at her. This was her call. She had been the one to push Minho away. Now she had to decide whether to trust him again. Prepare the transport, she said finally. Get the Titan armor and all drones loaded immediately. The command center exploded into activity. Officers ran to their stations. Orders flew across communication channels. The coalition moved with purpose for the first time in days. Minho turned to leave, but Hana called after him. Wait, he stopped. She walked over to him. For a moment, she just looked at him. The thin man with black lines on his skin. The weapon she had tried to use and discard. The human who had refused to accept necessary death. I'm sorry, she said quietly. For what I said, all of it. I was wrong, Minho nodded slowly. You saw me as a weapon. I had to walk away to remember I was a person. I came back because a person chooses to help. Not because he has no choice. You could have stayed gone. Gone to Earth, let us fail. No, I couldn't. Because saving people isn't about duty or obligation. It's about caring. And caring means finding a way. He met her eyes. Even when everyone says there is no way. Hana had nothing to say to that. Minho walked out of the command center, his team following behind him. The transport trip to Kelthera took 4 hours and 53 minutes. Minho spent that time in the Titan armor, reconnecting neural links he had removed 3 days ago. It hurt, like coming home after a long absence and finding everything slightly wrong. The armor felt different now, not like a prison, like a tool he was choosing to use. Around him, 200 drones floated in the transport bay, each one linked to the armor's systems. Each one waiting for his command. Yunji ran final checks on the synchronization network. All drones responding. Neural link is stable. Energy cores at full charge. How do you feel? Doyen asked Minho. Like I'm about to try something that's either brilliant or insane. Probably both. Yeah, probably. They arrived at Kelthera with 47 minutes to spare. The planet looked worse than in the holographic displays. The swarm had tightened their blockade. Red ships pressed against the blue shield surrounding the planet. In some places, the shield was flickering. Failing. The Keltherian defense fleet was down to a handful of ships. They were losing. The transport dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. Immediately, swarm ships detected them and began moving to intercept. Deployment in 30 seconds, the transport pilot announced. Bay doors opening. Minho took a deep breath. Through the armor's sensors, he could feel all 200 drones, each one a small presence in his mind. Like having 200 extra fingers, it was overwhelming and exhilarating at the same time. Remember, Yunji said through the communication channel, you need to position the drones in a sphere around the swarm concentration. Full coverage, then synchronize the pulse to fire simultaneously. Perfect timing. I remember. If you feel the neural load getting too heavy, I won't fail. The bay doors opened. Space waited beyond, cold and dark and full of enemies. Launching, Minho said. The Titan armor shot out of the transport, propelled by powerful thrusters. Behind him, 200 drones followed in perfect formation. They spread out as they moved, forming a growing cloud of machines. The swarm ships noticed and turned toward them. Thousands of red vessels moving as one, ready to destroy the threat. Minho ignored them. He flew straight toward the thickest concentration of swarm ships, the drones spreading wider with every second. His mind was everywhere at once, controlling the armor, tracking drone positions, calculating trajectories. The neural link was burning hot, processing more information than it was designed for, but humans had always been good at pushing past design limitations. Swarm ships opened fire. Energy weapons lit up space. Minho dodged and weaved, the armor responding to his thoughts faster than conscious reaction. Drones took hits. Some were destroyed. 197, 194, 190. He kept flying. Minho, you're losing too many drones. Hana's voice came through the communication channel. She was watching from the Coalition flagship. You need at least 180 to maintain energy distribution. I know. Minho spun the armor, returning fire at pursuing swarm ships. His weapons tore through their formation. 3 destroyed, 5, 10. Almost there. He reached the center of the swarm blockade. Red ships surrounded him completely. Thousands of them. Too many to count. This was where he needed to be. Now, Minho said. The remaining drones shot outward in all directions. They spread in a perfect sphere, each one taking its designated position around the swarm concentration. 187 drones. 13 had been destroyed during the approach. It would have to be enough. Minho's mind stretched to its limit. He could feel each drone like a distant limb, could sense their positions, their energy levels, their readiness to fire. The neural link was overheating. Warning messages flashed across his vision. Medical alerts screamed that he was pushing too hard. He ignored them all. Synchronizing, he said through gritted teeth. The quantum pulse began to build, not in the armor this time. In all, 188 points simultaneously. The Titan armor and 187 drones, each one generating a fraction of impossible energy. The neural link connected them all, keeping them perfectly timed. Microsecond precision across a sphere thousands of kilometers wide. Swarm ships realized something was wrong. They began firing everything at once, trying to destroy the drones before whatever was happening could complete. More drones died. 185. 182. 180. Minho. Hana's voice was urgent. You're at minimum threshold. I know. The energy was building, almost ready. Just a few more seconds. 179. 178. The quantum pulse reached critical levels. Every drone, every power core, every system screaming with barely contained energy. Minho's mind held them all together through pure force of will. The neural link was burning. His brain was on fire. But he held fire, he shouted. 178 points of light flared simultaneously. Perfect synchronization. Perfect timing. The quantum pulse exploded outward in a sphere of impossible energy. It washed through the swarm fleet like a wave,